And welcome to the Fearless Perspectives podcast with your host, Jordan Campbell. Kevin, good to be with you. How are you?
I'm good, Bill. How are you?
I'm good. I'd welcome you to the world of podcasting, except you've done a little bit of podcasting on your own before, but this is our inaugural launch of this particular podcast, the Fearless Perspectives. So welcome to the water. It's good to see you. And today, for those of you listening, we're going to take a moment to get to know Kevin a little bit better about who he is outside the world of just Jordan Campbell, financial advisor. So, Kevin, why don't we start there? Who are you, as a matter of fact, beyond your title as a financial advisor?
That's a great question. That's a big question.
It's a big question. I know. I understand.
Right? How long is this podcast?
We got like 2 hours. Don't worry about it.
I think the first thing that comes to mind is I'm a father, I'm a husband. I am a financial advisor. I've worn many hats. I'm not one of those guys who came out of college and went straight into finance. I shifted into finance later as I figured out that I was good at it. But that gives me some interesting perspectives as well, because we didn't kind of cut our teeth in the wirehouse world, which is typical in the finance area. We do things a little bit differently, and we have a little bit of a different perspective on things. But gosh, who is Kevin Campbell? I guess I've been a lot of places, done a lot of things, and it's been a heck of a journey.
That's cool. So, given all that background, given all of the things you did that were non-financial advisor in experience, tell us about the experiences that formed you into and led you into this career as a financial advisor. How did you get there from there?
So it was kind of interesting, as my education is actually IT engineering. So before I was in finance, my background was what I was doing was IT engineering. I owned a tech firm. And as the tech firm grew, and it was growing exponentially, I started figuring out that I was better at money engineering than I was at IT engineering. So, because that's kind of, we kind of joke about it here. And one of our other advisors in the office here as well is also a former techie. He was an Intel guy, that kind of stuff. So, both of us have come from technical backgrounds, and we kind of joke about that we're still engineering. We're just doing different kinds of engineering. And because it really is, it's very much the same thing. We're financial engineers. But I figured out along that journey that I was better at truly just better at the finance side than at the engineering side. So at some point I decided that I was wearing both hats for quite a while. And then, a long time ago, this has been, I've been in this space now for, I believe, 16 years. Mm. So for a couple of years, I was still running my tech firm, and I'd started what is now Peaks Financial. And for a couple of years, I was running both. And then I decided to exit the tech world and focus purely on the finance side. And it's been quite a journey.
Yeah, no, it's not. Number one, I was sitting here trying to think in my mind really quickly how many people with engineering backgrounds I know who are in the financial world, as opposed to taking their engineering degrees and taking them out into either the IT world or the civil engineering world or anything else. So that path is pretty common. I think there are a lot of people who realize when they get their engineering degrees, you know what, I can make a lot more money in finance. And Wall Street is really eager to hire those people.
So for me, it was less of a financial decision. I actually many years, I kind of regretted my decision there for a while, because I was actually making the revenue potential was far higher in the owning the company that I previously owned for a long time. But for me, it was really more of this is what felt right. It felt like the right place for me. I realized that I was a decent engineer on the IT side. Mm-hmm. I was decent, but I was not great. And there were other people who were far more skilled than I. And so for me, it was more of, and it wasn't that I was failing in that world at all. Not at all. It was actually quite exponential. And that company still exists down in Texas, and it's quite substantial at this point.
Oh, did you sell it or?
Oh, I did. Yes, I sold it. Yeah. So it's a very substantial company. So it wasn't by any means that my career as an IT engineer was a failure. Far from it. But it was more of this is what started feeling right to me. It was kind of felt like this is where I belonged, and that this is where I needed to be. And like I said, for many years I regretted that decision because it was actually quite a pay cut for a while doing that. But again, it just felt like the right thing. I feel like this is, and that's why people ask me now all the time, like, "Hey, when are you going to retire?" And I'm like, "I'm nowhere close to retirement. I've spent my whole life getting as good as I am at this, and I enjoy what I do. Why would I want to retire?" I'm not swinging a hammer in the, or, digging ditches or something like that. That's physically taxing. I find it challenging. I find it fun, and we change people's lives. What's not cool about that?
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that. Actually, what is it that you find fun? What is it you find fulfilling about being a financial advisor?
I guess the biggest thing, as I just mentioned a second ago, is we have, of course, we have all kinds of different clients, right? All kinds of different people that we serve.
Sure.
And in some situations, we're not going to change their lives because they already have. Literally, some folks have, they have more wealth than they could ever spend, right? So it's not necessarily, am I making a difference in their lives? Not really. I mean, I'm improving it. Am I optimizing? Yes. But am I drastically changing their lifestyle or the potential of them being able to live a successful and fruitful retirement? Not so much. I'm just optimizing what they've already built. But in some situations where you have people who are like, "Hey, I'm really ready to retire, but I'm not quite sure that my finances are ready to retire."
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are the people often that we're able to help quite a bit. And in those situations, I mean, we really do, in many cases, change lives, right? I've had, literally people crying in my office before, tears of joy, by the way.
I was going to say, please, okay, let's do that.
Usually not the tears of sadness, but of going, "Hey, I didn't think I was going to be able to retire. And now you've shown me a path of how I'm going to be able to do this, how I'm going to be able to manage my resources and how I can have a secure retirement." And by secure, I don't mean guaranteed or anything like that, but I mean like, "Hey, I've got a really good chance of making it. We've run the math, we've run the numbers, and I've got a really good shot at having enough resources to live out through my projected lifespan." And so in many cases, I mean, that's can be life-changing for a lot of folks is doing that. And so it's very fulfilling work. Frankly, I mean, I work a lot, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it is interesting when you find something you like doing. Again, the old cliche is, "Well, it's not like work at all," but it's true.
Well, I'm not going to say it's not like work because, but I enjoy it. I really do enjoy it. And at some point, I'm sure, yes, will I slow down sometime in the future? Of course, right? That's just nature's course. But I have, I'm at the age where, frankly, a lot of people do start retiring, and I'm like, no, I'm actually still in expansion mode. We're growing. We're trying to help more people.
Well, it's interesting you say that because as we're recording this, and this is the inaugural episode of the Fearless Perspectives podcast, you do have a book that you're working on.
Mm-hmm.
You do have a video series you're working on. So, I mean, you could say I'm growing, but you've got proof in the fact that it's like you are in fact growing and reaching out and expanding what you do. Tell us a little bit about the book, maybe.
Sure. The book is called Fearless, and the subtitle is Creating Financial Independence in a Time of Uncertainty. And the whole concept behind it, the whole concept behind Fearless, and along with that, as you just mentioned, we have this podcast, Fearless Perspectives. We have a video series that's being shot. We just actually had the recording crew in here for the first round last week. This weekend, I'm recording the audiobook starting to record the audiobook for Fearless. And then there's like one or two other things that there's a whole workshop series where there's going to be in-person classes, in-person workshops that talk about the concepts of Fearless. So yeah, we're trying, and the idea behind all of that is I can only work one-on-one with so many people, but through pushing out the concepts that we use, and the concepts in Fearless, it's a way to help people create to help give them a thought process behind how to structure the things that they can look at that can help them have a more fearless retirement. And the idea behind fearless is not reckless. I want to be really very, very, very clear on that. Fearless is not reckless.
We were going to get into that, as a matter of fact.
So the idea behind fearless is trying to minimize risk as much as we can. But then once we've done that, once we've minimized that risk, once we've addressed all those concerns, that we then push forward. And we do so as fearlessly as possible. And what I mean by that, I'll use an analogy here, is you take a risk every day when you get in your car.
Oh, sure.
Right? And you get in your car and you start driving down the interstate, you take a risk. Now, most people, I've ridden with a couple of people who are doing this. They're white knuckled and terrified the whole time they're driving down the road. And those people are no fun to ride with. But most people, they buy a car that has a decent safety rating. It's something that almost everybody looks at these days, is the safety ratings on their vehicles. They make sure the car is well maintained. They make sure that, there's the things you do. You wear a seatbelt. You make sure you have airbags. And cars these days have 92 airbags all over the place. You do everything you can to make your journey as safe as possible. You don't drive recklessly. It's your equipment. Two, it's how you manage that equipment. And this is very strong analogies to what we do in the world of finance as well. It's the tools you use and how you use them. And same thing when you're driving down the road. But once you get behind the wheel and you've mitigated as many risks as you can, then most people aren't driving down the road white-knuckled, worried about a car accident, right? And that's the idea behind fearless as far as the financials, is once we've addressed as many risks as we can, and that's the problem, is most people don't know how to address their risks. They don't even know what the risks are. Tax risk, regulatory risk, longevity risk, there's so many that we could sit here and go into, and we do go into them in the book. And I'm sure with the podcast series, we'll address a lot of these as well. But there are so many risks that you face out there. The question is, what do we do to minimize those risks? And once we've done everything that we possibly can to mitigate as many of those risks as we possibly can, while still pursuing rate of return, while still trying to grow our resources, while still trying to improve our position, but removing as many risks as we can, or not necessarily removing, but minimizing. In some cases, we can remove some risks. In other cases, we're minimizing them. Once we've minimized those risks and we've put everything in as much of a bulletproof position as we can, the idea is to go forward, press on. And press on is it's interesting because of the way that we tend to build financial plans around here. So I'm actually recording this in my office. I'm not in a silent studio. I'm in my office, and this is being recorded during what's going on this week is a market. The markets are shifting. My phones aren't ringing, and people often say, "Oh man, your office must be crazy. It must be slammed every time the markets go, get wonky. Your phones have got to be ringing off the wall." And the answer to that is no, they're not. And the reason is because our clients, because of the processes we use, they have that confidence in their plan that, hey, we're able to weather a storm. Because there's always a storm coming. The next storm, the next 2008, the next Black Friday, the next, or Black Monday, Black Friday is a whole different thing. There's always another 2008. There's always another Great Recession. There's always another Great Depression. There's all these things. Are always the tech bubble. We can just go back and look at history and history and history and history. There's always another storm coming. We just don't know what it is and how severe it's going to be. But by positioning ourselves as strongly as we can for that, then when the storm does come, we're ready for it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Risk is a very, very, very well-known term to anybody that's ever spoken with a financial advisor, anybody who's ever sat down to talk to a financial advisor. That comes up a lot, typically in terms of, well, what's your appetite for risk? Are you risk averse? Do you like risk? Are you willing to take risk? And it's another word for fear.
Mm-hmm.
What's your fear factor? That's what I like to think of it, right? What is your fear factor?
It just gave me a flashback to the old beginnings of Joe Rogan on Fear Factor, right? Where you're like, you got to stick your head in a bucket of cockroaches or something.
Oh yeah, which I flat out, but for the record, everybody listening, I refuse to watch that show because I grew up in a state with a lot of cockroaches. I'm not sticking my head in a bucket of cockroaches.
Yeah, not happening.
Not in a million years.
Absolutely.
And I know this is implied in everything you're saying. Actually, you believe that fear for a lot of people is really their biggest enemy of financial progress. Tell me about that a little bit. I mean, you talked about risk is a part of life, and it is.
Mhm.
Walking outside the street walking out onto the street can be risky. So, how do you help people cope with this notion of fear?
One is identifying it, right? What is the fear? And a lot of people don't have, again, because people don't necessarily, they don't know what they don't know. They they feel like I kind of don't know everything I should know about finances, so I'm scared. It's amazing to me and to almost anybody in the finance world how much our society fails people in teaching them about finance.
Oh, yes.
Right? We spend our entire lives working for money. Right? So as soon as you start working, you spend the majority of your adult life working for money. And most people never understand and never learn how to truly manage that resource. Um, so so sometimes people aren't really sure what they're afraid of. They just are afraid. So the first thing is naming the fear, right? What is it? What do we think could happen? Is it a market downturn? Do I not have enough resources? Have I saved enough?
Am I going to lose it all?
That's one of the biggest things. Yeah. Am I going to lose it all? Have I saved enough? And if I haven't, if I have saved enough, if I take a loss, do I still have enough? Or do I not have enough? Do I have to work longer? Right. So like what I don't understand is how people retire without running the math. I had a lady come in here. This was last year. She's now a client of ours, but she came in and she had come to one of the classes I teach. I mentioned earlier there's a fearless workshop. She'd come to one of those events before it was fearless or the previous iteration that we did, and she came in and she said, "I'm retiring next month." Congratulations. Have you run the math on that yet? And she says, "No, that's why I'm here." And I'm like, "Wow, okay." So she's literally already submitted her retirement papers. So she's in the process of exiting her career that she'd been at. And she has no idea if she has enough money or enough resources to actually do it. And so, because people forget, huge things that people forget. If you have $1 million in your IRA, it's traditional. You don't have $1 million in your IRA. You have a piece and Uncle Sam has a piece, right? So a lot of times people forget about taxes. How much of what I do have is subject to taxation and at what rate? Healthcare. People forget to factor in healthcare costs, which is substantial. And inflation. They forget those are the big three that we see people talk about. We refer to it in the book as HIT: healthcare, inflation, taxation.
Mm.
They forget to factor those numbers in, and they are huge numbers. So again, going back to it, the first thing is identifying the risks. The second thing is are starting to mitigate them. And when you can put people to the point where they go, okay, I factored in the healthcare, I factored in the inflation, I factored in the taxation, I factored in all the numbers. I should be in a pretty good position, even with a market, even with the what ifs in life. What if we hit another 2008? What if, what if I have a long-term care event? What if I get divorced? Because life happens, right?
Yeah.
The one thing too is that people often think about retirement as the finish line. Like once I retire, everything's done. And I don't have to, and they think about, okay, as soon as I retire, I have to get super conservative with my investments. Well, that depends. For a lot of people, they can't afford to get, especially look at inflation over the last 5 years. If you're in super conservative assets and you're making 4% a year or 5% a year in a time when inflation is higher than that, you're actually losing ground. You're not gaining ground. You're losing ground. And so they think about it as a finish line where it's really not. We still generally, for most, again, it depends on people's situation. If they have a lot of pension income and things like that, where they have a lot of guaranteed sources of income, this is slightly different. But these days, most people are retiring. If they do have pensions, they're not what they used to be. They might have some pension, and it is most commonly, it's more based off of the 401ks and the IRAs. So you can't just suddenly at the day of retirement go, okay, I'm going to stick all my cash, all my retirement assets in cash and get super conservative and then still hope to have enough money to live for 40 years, right? Because if I mentioned right now, I'm at the age where I'm currently 55, right? So some people will start retiring at 55. I also have longevity in my family. My grandmother is just down the street from me in a nursing home less than a mile from here. She's 99 years old.
Congratulations to her, by the
way. Thank you. So I help take care of her. That's why she's so close to me, is because I kind of manage her care and all that. Obviously, I'm not her caretaker; she's in a home, but I am here to make as her oversight and dealing with her her finances and all that kind of stuff. But and her little sister is 97. My grandfather made it to 97. Right. So my point being is, like, people often think about longevity as, hey, I've got to have, average lifespan is 85. So I need enough money to make it to 85. You have to remember, if the average is 85 or whatever it currently is right now, depending on what study you look at, if the average is 80, 85, 82, whatever it is, you have to remember that means that half the people lived longer than that. Right. So you can't go to, hey, average is 82. So as long as I have enough money to make it to 82, I'm fine. What if you make it to 97? My grandmother's absolutely, she is focused on making it to at least 100. At this point, it's like the goal, right? She's like, I have to be around till at least next January for my 100th birthday.
Awesome. I like that. Got to have goals set.
So, like, my point to that is, if I retired right now at 55, my retirement could easily be 40 years.
Yep.
That would make me 95. Again, in my family, my genetics, we tend to stick around for a long time, and that's on both sides of my family. So I could be looking at a 40-plus year retirement. That's a lot of resources. I can't, if I were to retire right now, there's no way I could take my assets, my investments, all of my assets, my retirement, stick it in bonds and hope to have enough money to live the rest of my life. I just can't. So again, the point behind risk is figuring out what are the risks, and then let's build a plan to be to minimize those risks. But once we have, let's push forward.
Is that what you're going to be talking about? Is that what people can expect to hear and learn on this show as you go forward?
Absolutely. That's a lot of what we talk about. We're not going to be sitting here and saying, hey, you need to buy this stock or this bond or this, this ETF or whatever. It's about how you build the planning. And the analogy I often use when talking with clients is, hey, this isn't, what we're trying to do is build a castle. The castle usually has a wall around it, right? So what we're trying to do is build that wall. Now, when the castle's under siege, right? When the bear market comes and the castle's under siege, that doesn't mean we're not going to lose a few soldiers over the walls, right? We're going to, we're probably going to take a few losses here and there, but the idea is we're trying to keep the castle from falling.
Yep.
So that's what we do. That's what we're going to be talking about a lot in these, the whole series behind Fearless that we're doing with the book, the podcast, the audiobook, the video series. Everything we're doing is talking about how to build those walls.
That is great. And coming up in the next episode, listeners, we're going to get into it with Kevin about the things that he sees people repeatedly struggling with financially. We're going to take a look at the moments that have clarified the whys for him and how preparation can change your confidence. So the first thing you need to do right now is, if you are not already a subscriber, if you didn't come back to this from several episodes ago that you've been listening to, hit the follow button, become a subscriber. The beauty of that is, as a subscriber, you're notified when Kevin drops a new episode of the podcast, and you can give that one a listen. Kevin, what are some other ways that people who are listening to this podcast might be able to reach out to you and might, maybe be able to have at least an initial conversation with you?
Absolutely. They can find me at peaksfinancial.com is probably the easiest way to do that. There's a contact us form on there that they can use to get plugged into us. As you just mentioned, as the podcast is launching, the book is launching, all of this is launching, a lot of those resources are going to be on the peaksfinancial.com website as well for all of those, as well as fearlessperspectives.com. But that part is not quite live yet as we're all of these things are launching simultaneously. But so peaksfinancial.com right now is the place to go.
All right, great. And for those of you who are listening, the information is in the show notes. If you're driving your car, you don't need to worry about whether you can write it down or not. It's right there. You can check in on it later.
Don't write and drive.
Exactly. But pay attention to the road, but don't be white knuckled. Okay.
Right. Be fearless.
Be fearless about it, folks. All right, good. And listen, I've got one favor to ask is, if you like this podcast, give it a like and tell people about it. Word of mouth promotion is a really invaluable tool, and we would very much appreciate it. Until next time, I'm Bill Tucker on behalf of Kevin, Jordan Campbell, and everybody at Peaks Financial and Fearless Perspectives. Thanks for taking the time to listen today. We will catch you next time. Thanks for listening to Fearless Perspectives. If you found today's conversation helpful, follow the show so that you're notified when new episodes are released. You can also visit us at www.peaksfinancial.com or call us at 360-564-1811 to learn more about our approach. And remember, being fearless doesn't mean ignoring risk. It means being prepared, informed, and confident in the plan you've built. Any opinions are those of Peaks Financial and not necessarily those of Raymond James. Expressions of opinion are as of this date and are subject to change without notice. There is no guarantee that these statements, opinions, or forecasts provided herein will prove to be correct. The information contained in this report does not purport to be a complete description of the securities, markets, or developments referred to in this material. The foregoing information has been obtained from sources considered to be reliable, but we do not guarantee that it is accurate or complete. It is not a statement of all available data necessary for making an investment decision, and it does not constitute a recommendation. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investing involves risk, and you may incur a profit or a loss regardless of strategy selected, including asset allocation and diversification. Raymond James is not affiliated with and does not endorse the opinions or services of any organizations or guest speakers mentioned herein. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. Peaks Financial is separately owned and operated and not independently registered as an investment advisor.